It's time for Headphone Highlights. Once again, unfortunately, I wasn't able to stream this week, but we can't go a Friday without a Headphone Highlight, so here we are, and it works out because I said on my last stream that we were going to be looking at my last set of IEMs, but as it turns out, I actually have one more, one more set that I completely forgot about. And not until someone made a comment on the last video, I believe, did I realize, oh my gosh, I forgot I own these things. So we're going to take a quick look at them. These are the KZ zsn-pros from Yinyoo. Yeah, that's a name. So they're pretty cool. Check those little guys out. So these are very interesting little IEMs. Let's take a look at the build really quick. We ever heard of Yinyoo before? But Yinyoo IEMs are pretty well known as being really stellar, kind of budget entry-level IEMs. And that's going to be reflected here. But let's take a quick look at the build. Yeah. So this outer shell on the driver housing, it looks like kind of like a brushed aluminum, but I'm not sure that these are in fact metal. It's a little hard to tell. Maybe they are. You know what? I think they might be. If not, then they're really, really hard, good quality plastic. But you got this nice little kind of pattern base plates here. They have an interesting shape. The shape is fairly similar to that of the moondrops from last time, the Starfields. Obviously not quite the same, but it allows for a fairly similar finish. On the inside, I have this nice purple see-through plastic, or resin, whatever. But these actually come in a variety of different colors and options. This is the option I just happened to choose. I like the purple. That's what we went with. So it's just a nice little accent, I think. I am using the Dakoni bullets for the tips here. I'm not using the ones that these came with. I just prefer the bullets. And then the cable, I believe, yep, is a simple 2-pin cable. We've seen that all before. The construction of the cable is fine. I'm not going to complain too much about it. It's just kind of your basic. It's a nice length. It's not long at all. It's actually, if anything, maybe even a little bit too short. But you know, when you're thinking of this more as a portable IEM than anything else, it makes a bit more sense. But it's got this right angle termination to a simple 3.5mm. You know, nothing special there. We've seen all that before. And then the weave on the cable itself is fairly basic. It's like a 2-wire weave, and it drapes okay. You could see it's not the straightest thing ever. It's got a little bit of jink in there, but it's mostly fine. The only thing about it though is it's really, really susceptible to getting into knots. Even before putting this video up, I just had these like laying on my desk on the side there, like I normally do. I hear them and then I put them down. I picked them up and they're just a tangled mess, and it took me a good hot minute to untangle them. So that is a thing. The other thing is that the aggressiveness of the shrink wrap for this kind of loop around the ear is really aggressive. If I let this go and let it just go where it wants to go naturally, look at that. It completely overcorrects. It's really, really a lot. It's a really extreme curvature. So that's something you can work, you know, if you really wanted to bend this around and fiddle with it, you can probably get it more to a natural shape. And of course, the more you wear them, it's probably gonna wear that in better. But just know that because of that, they are a little bit, I mean, they still fit great. They still fit in there just fine. I'm not concerned about them being loose and falling on my ear or anything like that. But the cable just doesn't really feel like it's fitting very naturally, because it's like it's got some space going on the top end of my ear, and then it kind of like squeezes and pinches the bottom of my ear. That sounds a lot worse than it really is. It's not anything that you can really notice, but you know, it's just not as much of a premium feel as some of the other ones. But that's not too much of a surprise once we get into like how much these cost. $25. You're going to start making some exceptions, because yeah, these are only $25 IEMs. $20 if you get a coupon. So that's a killer freaking deal. Especially when we start talking, I'm going to skip comfort because, you know, that's whatever with IEMs. We're going to go right into sound. $25. How do they sound? I mean, how could they possibly sound for $25? Pretty darn good. So way better than you would expect from $25. It's a little hard for me to accept this, a little hard for me to believe I'm saying it. But after listening to these for a week, I gotta say, they are surprisingly neutral. No range really pops up more than any others. And that's really surprising to me, because usually a lower end budget IEM like this is very V-shaped to make it sound more enjoyable. So this was really surprising. Yeah, they're pretty neutral. They have a decent amount of detail in the high end. The highs, they can get nice and sparkly without really hitting any sibilance. It can get a little close sometimes, but nothing has hurt me so far. So that's really nice. You still get a good amount of detail in the high end without anything being painful. Your mid-range is just as present as your high and your low end, so nothing's getting lost in the mid-range. I'd say the only thing that really pops out are vocals. So these are really vocal forward and vocal performing IEM. Lots of vocal presence with these. So that's really nice. The low end is, again, neutral. It's a nice, clean low end that's not super crazy booming and bloating, which again is very surprising for an entry-level IEM like this. It can still hit pretty hard. Some of the sub bass on these is actually fairly impressive. That being said, I have noticed, and weirdly enough, for these little $25 IEMs, they do seem pretty dependent on the source of your music. I was listening to just some basic stream music on Tidal, and it sounded fine. It sounded whatever. You know, I was enjoying it. It didn't sound terrible. But when I loaded up some of my FLAC files on my personal library, that brought out a whole lot more. These sounded extremely narrow when I was listening on the streaming music. They sound extremely narrow, almost zero sound stage, and the low end was not as impactful. But once I put on that my own FLAC library, there still isn't really soundstage, but there was a little bit of extra width, just a bigger presence in the music, and the low end was hitting a little harder, especially in that sub bass range, and just a lot more full sounding. And that's an unusual thing to experience with little budget headphones like this. That's something you would expect from your higher end, hi-fi audiophile headphones. So that's a nice if you have it, bonus. But if you don't have that, that might be a little bit of a detriment to you. But even then, even when I was doing my streaming listening, it still sounded pretty darn good. Especially when you have to remember these are only $25. I mean, look at them. They look really nice, and they sound really nice. They're lovely. I really don't have any complaints about them. What is it? Yinyoo. Yinyoo has a fairly wider range of these right now. different tiers up to get better sound. And I believe it's the oh gosh, what are they called? There's a tier right above these if you're looking for a big step in your audio quality. Oh my gosh, their page is terrible. Hot selling. What the heck were they called? Was it the Pro X? Because these are just the regular Pros, right? Yeah. No, those are still only $25. Oh my goodness. Well, they got like a $50 one. I can't remember which one it is. I'm sorry. But that one's a step up in terms of the audio quality. But if you just need a pair of nice looking IEMs to throw into your back pocket and take with you to a gym or something like that, somewhere where you're not worried about them maybe getting roughed up or lost or whatever, only $25. Crazy simple and easy to replace, and they sound really good for $25. Heck yeah. I mean, the only really contender for in terms of budget on these, of what I own, would be something like a Koss headphone. That being said, I know that there's a lot of hype over some Moon Audio IEMs that are in the similar price range. So I'm thinking of picking one of those up to compare. But at the moment, these are the cheapest IEMs that I have, and they sound pretty darn good. If you want neutral, something really neutral, something very intimate, so not very wide, no soundstage, and you really like your vocals, I think you'll enjoy these. So yeah, there they are. The oh man, I've lost my page. Oh gosh, I'm not very prepared today. Forgive me. Yes, okay. The Yinyoo KZ zsn-pros. The budget IEM. They're super cool. Okay, I think that's about it. I will be streaming next week, Lord willing. And oh my god, the printers are running. I think that's our cue. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.